everybody. I am Victoria Vega, and I am here to present to you my hot button behavior plan and discussion here for ECS 315. So for my table of contexts and what I'll be presenting to you today is the Code of Ethics and Rights for a Child in my own classroom, my hot button behavior sheet, my hot button plan, which consists of before, during, and after the behavior, and how the hot button behavior plan aligns with my code of ethics and rights within my classroom. Then I'll move to my reflection of the course, and lastly, my letter. So to jump right into it is my code of ethics and rights within my classroom. I gave a definition of why code of ethics and rights are important within the classroom, and why it's important to establish your own code of ethics and rights to ensure all students are treated fairly and efficiently for your own classroom. So specifically for my classroom, I decided to state that all students are treated equally and fairly, all students will follow classroom expectations and rules, all students will be treated and will treat others with respect. All parents, I made sure to specify parent and legal guardian just because of FERPA law. And they will be included within and about any classroom activities, events, and practices. All discrimination, judgment, and separation are prohibited within the classroom. All cultures are welcomed within the classroom, and all students who enter the classroom belong in the classroom. So moving forward to my hot button behaviors, here is my sheet. I took a screenshot and put it right on here so you could see everything I said. Specifically for my 3 hot button behaviors for me personally. Number 1, I put tantrums that involved the child being physical to teachers or peers. I tend to just feel really defensive. It's hard for, I try my best to stay calm and composed, but it's hard not to feel defensive and want to protect myself and others. I'd be lying if I said it didn't impact the relationship it has on the relationship I have with that specific student. And I think it can be hard navigating relationships with parents because of this. The second hot button behavior is when a child doesn't listen and then they proceed to think it's funny. Personally, it makes me angry. I just don't feel like I'm being respected like I put in my code of ethics. And it's hard for me to want to interact with that child specifically because of the behavior. And then third, I put when a child talks back and isn't very polite and almost sassy. By this, I mean I've had children in the past that just simply are very not polite. I don't know what correct term to use, but just not very polite. And no matter what you say or do, they're just, upset. And so then that makes me upset. And again, it's really hard to be around these specific students because of it. So when I go over my hot button behavior plan, I have those specific hot buttons in mind. So before the behavior, I did a lot of research on this week's and all of the courses material provided. So simply put, for my before the behavior, I put ensuring my own mental, physical, and psychological well-being and health is in check. This tends to be really put to the side, especially for us early childhood educators, so I want to make sure that those are really put in place. Next, I put establishing a positive team. I've been fortunate enough to be a part of a team that's very positive and understands when we need a break or when and what to establish when another team member is dealing with a certain behavior. I've been a part of a negative environment before, and I can truly attest that having a positive environment can really help establish that firm foundation before a behavior ever occurs. And then, of course, we heard in the video of the shark music this week and previous weeks, and I think just taking the time to understand my own triggers before ever entering into the classroom could really help with that shark music when it arrives, because those certain reactions are triggered by those hot button behaviors, and just collecting myself and understanding what it looks like when that shark music arrives and how to then be able to help the child through the behavior. So moving forward to during the behavior, again, I went through 3 different main points that I feel like really attest to me. I really like how that same video, the being with aspect of it can be for the child. Personally, sometimes I just need the reminder of how my presence is truly helping the child, because it tends to show so much negative. And I will go into this about the aftercare of after the behavior, but I tend to really put it on myself. And so just remembering that even if the child's not exhibiting it, just being with them can help them feel less secure and overwhelmed when they're feeling the big emotion. Again, going back to the shark music trigger, I think in this aspect of during the behavior, I think it's learning how to identify the shark music and be able to look at the child for their behavior and what is the root cause of it rather than how it's triggering me and my reaction. So that's what I mean when I apply the shark music technique and idea towards the during behavior compared to the before behavior. And then another thing I really enjoyed learning about was the mindfulness tips and activities such as breathing or emotion cards. This is important to implement if it works during behaviors, because it can really help children calm down and focus on something like breathing rather than the behavior they're exhibiting. So moving forward to the after behavior, I really made sure to put in refrain from blame. I have a really hard time in reflection being like, I should have done this and I should have done that, rather than looking at it from a perspective of, well, this happened and this is how I change it for next time, and that's okay because we're learning and we're growing. So that's something that I personally really need to remember when handling the aftercare of the behavior. I think another thing is being in tune to know when I need a break. I tend to be one to just get right back into it, and which is good, and that'll lead to my next point. But if I do need to just step out for a minute and get a breather and go for a walk, or just do something to reset my mind, just being in tune of that. And that kind of links to the before behavior of having that positive foundation of a team, can really help in that, because they're able to tell when I need that break after a behavior. And then moving to the ensure the day continues and the child is not treated differently. This links back to my code of ethics and how it applies to my hot button plan. That despite the behavior, no matter how big or small or aggressive or gentle, no matter which way it went, that after it, the child is not treated differently and the day continues on as it would have if the behavior did not happen. I think this is really important because it shows the child that now we're transitioning back into the day rather than constantly hitting on that behavior. And that also applies to me, obviously, as the educator, is not hounding on that behavior. So then obviously going back into the hot button plan and code of ethics and how they both link together. Of course, all of these link to all before, after, and during. However, I wanted to specifically state where some of them laid. So all students are treated equally and fairly, especially during those after and before, during and after behaviors. And then also that all parents and legal guardians are included, especially after behaviors. And then all students who enter the classroom belong in the classroom. That applies to the after behavior of ensuring that the day moves on slowly. The rest I kind of just applied to all areas as they could fit in. And of course all of them could, but I wanted to put specifics on certain ones. So moving forward to my reflection of this course, the new outlooks I have on behaviors has differed so much since starting this course. Prior to this course, I had a set way of viewing and handling behaviors just due to my past experiences. However, this class really challenged my perspective and encouraged me to look at students different for their behavior and the techniques that can accommodate their specific behaviors. Not that I wasn't doing this before, but it helped me integrate it more effectively. And then, of course, the caregivers' roles and responsibilities. Outlook has changed to more grace and support. I think this course made me realize that, parents have their own hot button behaviors and they have their own triggers from past experience that they had as a child, and having that grace and collaboration can be the one thing that helps at home and in the future. So then moving on to my letter, I hope I did this correctly, but I feel like it really impacted me. So I just said, "Dear future self and other educators, as educators, we're on the front lines of seeing students suffer. This suffering is so broad that even ourselves can't pinpoint it all the time. However, it's the way we view the suffering and how we choose to attack it. By attack it, I mean the philosophy that Shelby so graciously does within her Troublemaker's book with the tactic of be love. Shelby takes the time to attack the norm with much more reflective view, love, as Shelby does in her letter at the end of the book. So needless to say, it's tiring and it's so exhausting going through the same behaviors when you're such at a loss for patience. But I want you to think back to the last time you suffered. How did you feel? Who assisted you going through that healing? Did you react in ways you wish you wouldn't have? Now think to that troublemaker within your class and imagine the same suffering, but in that tiny mind. It changes the way we think. Troublemakers did just that in my own mind and soul, and it truly did. So don't forget the mind behind the classroom, behind the decor, and behind the heart that started you on this journey. We can shape the next generation, one changed mindset at a time. I feel like this course and this book truly changed my perspectives of not looking at that child as a problem child, but as a person that goes through things, and sometimes so early in life that we can't even comprehend. So I hope I did that letter right. I truly poured my heart into it in a simple way, but I feel like it kind of reflected the way the author also wrote her own letter. So here's my references to this presentation. Thank you so much for watching it all the way through. I really had a great time interacting and working with you all in this course, and I really look forward to hearing back your feedback and watching your own presentations. I wish you well on all your future endeavors, whether that be a future career, schooling, whatever it may be. I'm wishing you all well, and I had a great time interacting and participating with you in this course. Thank you.